Welcome to the overview of the Title IV-B grant funding life cycle. In Section 10 of the guide, we explain the funding life cycle from submitting the initial application to receiving the approval letters and the notice of awards to ultimately closing out the spending of Title IV-B grants. There are 6 important key points and dates to remember in the Title IV-B grant funding life cycle. This video will highlight those important key points and dates. To help you understand the flow of the Title IV-B grant funding life cycle, we'll walk through the seasons of the year together, highlighting the important dates in each season as we go. The first date to be aware of is the issuance of a program instruction from the Children's Bureau in late winter or early spring. The program instruction announces the requirements that federally recognized tribes must meet to qualify for Title IV-B grant funding. In the spring, tribes will receive additional support from the regional offices through convenings that explain the application and submission process. Tribes may request consultation and assistance from the regional office at any time. The Children's Bureau funds Title IV-B grants in 5-year blocks of time. The initial Title IV-B grant application within the 5-year time frame is called the Child and Family Services Plan and is commonly referred to as the CFSP. To maintain funding, each subsequent year, the tribe completes an annual progress and services report, commonly referred to as an APSR. When a Title IV-B grant application is approved, it opens the door to receiving the next year's funding. Each annual Title IV-B grant award is available to spend for 2 years, creating a cycle of overlap that continues as the 5-year CFSP cycle progresses. For detailed information about the application process, please refer to sections 4 through 9 of the guide. The second key date to remember is June 30th, because the CFSP and APSR are always due on June 30th. Once the appropriate plan is submitted, the Children's Bureau reviews a tribe's submission and works with the tribe to clarify and gather any missing information needed for funding approval. Upon Title IV-B grant funding approval, the tribe will receive a letter from the Children's Bureau in the fall. While the federal fiscal year begins in October, the notice of award releasing the Title IV-B grant funds to the tribe is usually issued in the spring. That means that even though funds may not be issued until approximately 6 months after the federal fiscal year begins, the tribe can use grant funds to pay back any Title IV-B grant expenditures they made as far back as October 1. A tribe has 2 years to spend each annual Title IV-B grant award. The expenditure period starts on October 1. For example, for a fiscal year 2023 grant, the federal fiscal year spans the 12 months from October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023. However, the tribe can spend these funds for 24 months from October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2024. The third and fourth key dates to remember are obligation and liquidation dates. The obligation date is September 30. At the end of the second year, by September 30, tribes must have all Title IV-B grant funds for that award year obligated. An obligation is generally a written intent to purchase items such as a purchase order, invoice, etc. Tribes can make no new purchases from this grant after this date. The liquidation date is January 28. By January 28 of the second and final year of the grant, all Title IV-B grant funds must be liquidated, meaning all the bills incurred for that 2-year grant period have been paid in full. The grant expenditure period is closed, and no additional expenses can be paid after this date. All tribes are required to submit annual year-end financial reporting for Title IV-B grants. These reports are called the SF-425 reports. The SF-425 is used to report cumulative expenses incurred under each grant award and is required of all federal grant recipients. So, the 5th and 6th key dates to remember are December 30 and January 28. The SF-425 interim report is always due no later than 90 days after the end of each federal fiscal year, which would be December 30. while the final SF425 report is due 120 days after the end of the 2-year expenditure period, which is January 28. At the end of the first year of the 2-year grant expenditure period, an interim SF425 report must be submitted for the first year's expenses. The grant is officially and formally closed when the tribe submits a final SF425 report, which is due by January 28 of the second year of the grant. Here is a summary of the 6 important dates for the Title IV-B grant funding life cycle. Program instruction for the next year's funding is released in late winter. The due date for the CFSP and APSR is always June 30. Obligation period ends September 30. Liquidation period ends January 28. Interim reports are always due December 30. The final SF425 is always due January 28.